where do we even start with this tonight? This is unbelievable what happened today on the stand.
Trial's over. It's over.
The conspiracy has now entered the courtroom itself, and the prosecutor, Lally, is part of it.
The chat was like, this flipped. Look at the 4 on the bay. Look at the writing on the back of the cop car. This video looks flipped, like we are looking at the driver's side of Karen Reed's car and not the passenger side of Karen Reed's car. But it was never asked in direct examination, not once.
This spectacle with the Sally Port video is something that as lawyers, you never see this. I mean, you have to really grasp the magnitude of what Lally did, what it says about him, what it says that the jury thinks about him, what it says about the case, what it says about Proctor, and any number of things.
It was misleading.
Some jurors even looked at each other quizzically, and some may have wondered if they'd just been tricked.
I didn't think that was going to happen. There's no way I thought this would happen in front of the jury, but it has.
I can tell you, being in that courtroom, everyone stopped. Some of the jurors were looking at each other during this. They stopped writing. They take a lot of notes.
Like, even if we don't necessarily look at it from an ethical standpoint, but just a best practices standpoint, because you really open yourself up to the risk that you're going to get called out by the other side and that the jury's going to lose some faith in you, that you're being forthcoming with them.
When he offered that video yesterday, he offered that as a straight shooter. Okay. And if that was some kind of fakakta inverted video, when you offered that, you are ethically required as an attorney in offering evidence to be fair, accurate, and credible in what you're doing. And he wasn't.
My camera right here, I can show you magic because I can do the same thing. Look at my hand. I'm now raising my one hand. I can't figure out what you see on screen. Now I lift my other hand. Oh, look, magic.
They put in a piece of evidence today or yesterday and then talked about it today that was completely misrepresenting the truth.
You went through your entire testimony about this yesterday, and you never felt the need. You told them this was accurate and truthful, and you never felt the need to clarify that what they're actually looking at is the driver's side and not the passenger side. You never felt the need to clarify that this is not what it seems. Is it accurate? Is it accurate? It's sure misleading, isn't it? It's sure misleading.
But more importantly, when you realize that they flipped the image, the right rear taillight is essentially out of view and being humped by Proctor on the other side doing God knows what for a period of time. He does appear to kind of walk away when someone else is coming. And then when you focus on that, you learn other things, such as people are apparating out of nowhere and reappearing. The time counter is all messed up, which clearly tells you that in addition to being inverted, it's spliced, it's fixed, it's not real.
So Jackson pointed out frequently that it leaves the wrong impression that they are looking at the passenger side of the car, not the driver's side of the car, because it was never asked on direct examination. And the officer didn't offer it when saying, is that a true and accurate representation of what you saw in the Sally Port? He never said it is a mirror of what happened. So we're looking at the driver's side of the car. That was never elicited until cross-examination, which Alan Jackson pointed out multiple times. So when you see people walking around the back of the car, they're walking around the passenger side back of the car, not the driver's side rear of the car.
Is this correct now?
Yes, it is. But I'm also dyslexic, so it's always been correct.
I had to remember I have to switch the letters around as well.
Nothing but the truth. That's all, because that's our job. The job isn't, what are we going to say to win this case? What are we going to do to win the case? No, it's the truth. The obligation of a prosecutor is to seek justice, which is the truth. A trial is a search for the truth.
If that was a fair and accurate portrayal of the Sally Port and the car coming in and all of that, and it was anything but, because everybody knows the car is only as interesting as the right rear taillight is interesting. And they offered a video which purported to show in plain view for all to see a right rear taillight, which interestingly enough, and this goes more to their intent and how scummy this all is, there was white light showing on that taillight. So, and that's the good taillight, we now know, which makes you wonder if they did something to that.
I don't want to say that this is like super common in litigation, because it is a dirty tactic. It really is a dirty tactic. And I think that the better option for Lally would have been to point out to the jury on direct examination, okay, now notice police is written backwards. Notice number 4 is written backwards. What's up with that? Oh, it's mirror imaged. Okay, so let's look at the other side. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been a much better practice.
That is the foundation of our criminal justice system, is that we need men and women prosecuting cases honestly and searching for the truth. Not telling witnesses what to say, not pulling a fast one. The facts are what they are. Period.
What happened today turned this from a serious criminal trial into a cartoon.
Let me just poke my head in here before we wrap up. I know you all heard Alan Jackson talk about the timestamp not being inverted, but remember, he's playing the long game here. He isn't going to show his hand yet, but this is what you probably heard him say.
How did you discover that the image was inverted?
I saw the word police and thought I had dyslexia. The timestamp across the bottom is not inverted, which means somebody had to put that on the inverted, the manipulated, the altered video on purpose.
Now, bear with me for a second. Recall the video where I said this? But now I'm absolutely positive that these timestamps have been edited. Because if you go back to my original Sally Port footage, where I'd strung together what had been shown in court so far, you'll see this timestamp. But the next time they show footage from that exact same camera with the really dark contrast and brightness, it's now got this timestamp. The same timestamp that they have used on the other camera. So now, yes, I am fully satisfied that they are editing the timestamps. This is absolute 100% proof that these are not embedded timestamps. Alan Jackson's a pretty smart guy, a lot smarter than I am, so I'm pretty sure he knows that those fonts are not matching, and that those mismatched fonts are not embedded timestamps. But he also knows this. When you go into your camera software, you can either flip left or right or upside down, depending on the orientation of your camera. You might have it pinned to the roof of an awning, for example, and you'll need to flip it. But when you do that inside the camera software with the embedded timestamp, the timestamp will still read the right way round, because it still needs to be readable. What you won't see, unless you have edited it after the recordings were made, is these vastly different font styles with this little shadow behind them. If at all you can put anything behind your timestamps, it will be a black box, not a blue shadow. Anyway, I suspect this will come up in either cross or when the prosecution rests the defence's case in chief. And that's why I put it right at the end of this video, so we don't tip the hand before they get a chance to surprise Lally with it.